You're scrolling, and you see her. The quiet one in the corner of the office Christmas party, the one everyone barely notices, signing her own heartbreak away while carols play. What you don't see, what no one in that room saw, is that the pen in her hand was worth more than the CEO's car. This is the story of Alara, and the Christmas party where she signed the divorce papers, and her old life ended. But stick with me, because the reason she was there, and what happened next, will change how you see the people around you forever. This is True Kindness Tales, and if you believe in second chances and the hidden strength in quiet people, you need to hear this. Don't forget to hit subscribe for more stories that prove truth is stranger, and more beautiful, than fiction. The champagne at Caldwell and Stern's annual Christmas party was cheap and too sweet, but the laughter was expensive. It was the sound of ambition, of clinking glasses sealing unseen deals, of forced merriment in designer dresses. And in the farthest corner, perched on a stiff velvet chair that had seen better decades, was Alara. To her colleagues, she was the timid woman from accounting who wore the same 3 wool blend cardigans in rotation, whose lunch was always a homemade sandwich eaten quietly at her desk. She was a ghost in the machinery, only noticed when a report was late. Tonight, she was a specter at the feast, her eyes red-rimmed behind plain glasses. Across from her, looking impeccably bored, was her husband, Julian. Or rather, soon-to-be ex-husband. He'd insisted on this place, this time. Let's just get it over with, Alara. It's a party, no one will notice a little business, he'd said, his voice as smooth and cold as the ice in his untouched drink. The little business was the final dissolution of their 7-year marriage. The papers lay between them on a small, wobbling table, a stark island of reality in a sea of tinsel and fake cheer. Alara's pen hovered. She saw not the legalese, but the memories. The young artist he'd married, full of dreams he'd systematically mocked. The way he'd scoffed at her quirky paintings, calling them a hobby for a housewife. How he'd taken charge of their meager finances, never knowing the truth, that the trust fund from her grandfather, the one she'd refused to touch out of a desire for a real, unburdened life, had ballooned into a fortune. She'd kept it secret, first as a test of love, then as a shield. She saw the lonely nights in their cavernous, cold apartment, him working late, her secretly managing a billion-dollar philanthropic empire from a locked tablet, finding more kinship with suffering strangers than the man sharing her bed. A burst of laughter erupted from the center of the room. Jessica from marketing, the office queen bee, was holding court, shooting a pitying glance at Alara. Poor thing, Jessica's look said. Probably signing some loan papers. Must be so hard to be that plain, that poor. If only they knew. The single teardrop that fell onto the signature line was not just for the failed marriage, but for the crushing weight of her own pretense. She signed, Alara Vance, with a shaky hand, the name that was worth nothing to these people, and everything in the silent, powerful world she inhabited alone. Julian snatched the document, a triumphant gleam in his eye, believing he'd freed himself from a burden. He didn't wait, melting into the crowd, already texting on his phone. Alara sat, utterly alone, the noise of the party muffled as if she were underwater. She was free, but she was also empty. A billionaire in a 5-year-old dress, with nowhere to call home. For a long moment, Alara didn't move. The signed paper was gone, a physical weight lifted but replaced by a profound, echoing hollowness. She watched Julian clap the CEO, Mr. Stern, on the back, already networking his way into his new, unmarried future. She saw her coworkers, the ones who'd never invited her for coffee, who'd talked over her in meetings, oblivious. She was about to slip out, to vanish into the snowy night and into her other life, when fate, in the form of a clumsy intern and an overloaded tray of desserts, intervened. A loud crash, a shriek, and a tide of chocolate mousse and shattered glass cascaded over the back of Mr. Stern's expensive suit, and worse, over the sleek server, a young woman named Chloe. The room fell silent, then tittered with nervous laughter. Chloe, mortified, covered in dessert and on the verge of tears, was being publicly berated by a crimson-faced Mr. Stern. Clumsy idiot. This is Armani. Do you have any idea? You're finished here. Something in Alara snapped. She knew Chloe. A kind-eyed art student working part-time, who'd once shown Alara a sketch of the office skyline, whispering about her dreams. Alara had seen herself in that young, hopeful face. Before she could think, she was moving. She walked deliberately to the center of the room, all eyes now on the strange spectacle. She ignored Stern, kneeling beside Chloe and using her own napkin to gently wipe mousse from the girl's hands. Are you hurt? Alara asked, her voice clear, carrying a quiet authority no one had ever heard. Mr. Stern spluttered. Alara, get back to your, whatever. This doesn't concern you. Alara stood. She looked at Stern, then at the ring of watching faces. The invisible woman was suddenly, terribly visible. The years of silence, of being overlooked, of swallowing Julian's condescension and her colleagues' indifference, coalesced into a steely calm. It concerns me, she said, her voice low but piercing, when I watch a bully humiliate a young woman over a spilled dessert and a replaceable suit. A gasp rippled through the crowd. Julian stared, his mouth agape. You're fired, Stern roared, pointing at Chloe, then at Alara. And you're done in accounting. A faint, sad smile touched Alara's lips. She reached into her simple cloth handbag, not for a tissue, but for her phone. She made a single call, putting it on speaker. Arthur, it's Alara Vance. Yes. Initiate Project White Knight. The target is Caldwell and Stern. Full acquisition. Immediate basis. She ended the call. The room was dead silent, confused. Mr. Stern laughed, a harsh, barking sound. Acquisition? Have you lost your mind, you pathetic little? His phone rang. Then the board chairman's phone rang. Then 5 other senior partners' phones rang, a chorus of impending doom. As they answered, their faces drained of color. Alara turned to Chloe. Your student loans are paid. And you have a full-ride scholarship to any art school you choose. Consider it an apology for tonight's unpleasantness. The tears on Alara's cheeks now were not of sorrow, but of a long-suppressed power finally, gently, being unleashed. Chaos, beautiful and silent, ensued. Mr. Stern was sputtering into his phone, but how? Julian pushed through the crowd, his face a mask of bewildered fury. Alara, what is this? What did you do? Who is Arthur? Alara looked at him, truly looked at him for the first time in years, and felt nothing but a vast, quiet pity. Arthur is the manager of my family's office, Julian. The one you never asked about because you assumed my family was as mediocre as you thought I was. She addressed the room, her voice now warm, filling the space. By Monday, this firm will be under new management. A management that values kindness over cruelty, and people over profit margins. Your jobs are safe, for now. But there will be changes. Starting with a new HR department and a mandatory ethics workshop. She walked towards the door, her old cardigan suddenly looking like a choice, not a compromise. Julian grabbed her arm. You're a billionaire. His whisper was desperate, greedy. All this time, Alara, we can fix this. It was a mistake. She removed his hand. The only mistake was mine, Julian. Believing that to be loved, I had to be small. The divorce is final. My lawyer will be in touch about the settlement. You'll get exactly what the prenup states, which is what you came into the marriage with. Nothing more. The justice of it was crystalline. At the door, she turned. Not to the stunned executives, but to the servers, the interns, the junior staff huddled by the wall. For the rest of you, she announced, the party is on me. A real party. Catering from the Laurent, and a bonus equal to a month's salary in your accounts tonight. A stunned cheer erupted from them, a real one, full of joy and shock. Outside, snow fell on the silent city. Alara breathed in the cold, free air. She pulled out her phone again, pulling up the architectural plans she'd secretly been cherishing. Not for a mansion, but for a community arts center in the city's forgotten district, a place for dreamers like Chloe, like her